Hey everybody, this is Darren Sabedra again, Bay Area News Group, Mercury News, East Bay Times, here with Mike Lefkow, Joseph Dycus. Guys, how are you? We're heading into the 8th week of the high school football season. Joseph, you and I counted 8 more weeks to go after this one to the state final.
We've truly hit the midway point of the season.
Yes, it's a 16-week season, and we are in week 8. You guys doing okay?
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, we're going to pick 16 more games on the show, but first we're going to talk about the big one on Friday night in Danville, where I will be. It'll be De La Salle going to play San Ramon. San Ramon Valley is 6-0. We know how they've done it. Luke Baker putting up huge numbers, and Marco Jones. He had 18 tackles or 19 tackles in that game on Friday against Clayton. Pretty special player. Obviously, going up against De La Salle, which had last week off. Mike Lefkow, 32 years ago. I don't even know if Joseph was alive 32 years ago, but don't think he was. He was not alive. 32 years ago was the last time an NCS team has beaten De La Salle, and you've been discussing this for weeks now, that San Ramon has a shot. What do you think about this game, and how big is the loss of John Ben Pau Mendoza, the running back for SRV, who also plays defense too? How huge is that loss going into this game on Friday night?
Well, I think San Ramon Valley has a shot. I mean, the game's at San Ramon Valley. Mm-hmm. That is a very good team. Luke Baker is a terrific quarterback. Marco Jones probably has more offers than he has fingers and toes. So they've got good players, but the loss of Pau Mendoza really worries me if I'm San Ramon. I mean, I think this kid is a very underrated player. You look at his numbers, and they don't jump off the page at you. He doesn't have 20 colleges coming after him. But he's just one of those players that is very important to his team. He's
very good high school player.
Very solid. Solid offensively, solid defensively, smart kid, knows what to do on the field. And I mean, you lose a player like that really hurts.
And obviously, we're wishing him the best. He told me he's going to undergo surgery this week, I believe on Wednesday. So hopefully he'll be able to make it to the game on Friday night. Joseph, you've seen San Ramon, not this season, but Luke Baker last season. What kind of game is Luke Baker going to have for San Ramon to beat De La Salle?
He's got to have the game of his life, I think, to beat them, especially like you've been talking about. Without John Pau Mendoza, I don't really know where their running game is going to come from. Luke Baker might end up being their running game, his scrambles and stuff. You were at the game last week.
It's going to be running back by committee.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
We had a few guys, including one guy who got dinged up a little bit with his ankle. But, that concerns me. Obviously, De La Salle is going to be very physical. Clayton did move the ball on a couple of extended drives that I could see De La Salle doing. Clayton kind of shot itself in the foot a couple of times. I mean, one time, they definitely shot themselves in the foot when they snapped to the quarterback on the first possession of the game at like the SRV 32, where they had controlled the first 6 minutes of the first quarter, and the snap goes over the quarterback's head for a 16-yard loss.
Yeah,
I doubt that's going to happen against De La Salle. I think the quarterback's going to be under center and not in the shotgun. And then the other one was when they drove downfield later in the first half, down 7-0, and we're in position to score. And Marco Jones makes shows why he is a big time player, and makes a 6-yard tackle for loss that ends up stalling that drive, and Clayton came away with 0 points. So that concerns me that, for on the Clayton, on the San Ramon side, if I'm looking at them, they can't allow De La Salle to control the ball, which is what De La Salle is going to aim to do, which is what they did against Folsom. Luke Baker can't have the game of his life if he's on the sideline.
Right.
Watching.
Yeah. Looking at it from a slightly different angle, though, I guess what are some things that San Ramon Valley does really well that you would concern you if you're De La Salle?
Their passing game. Luke Baker is a really, really good player. And if you go back to the game 7 years ago when Luke's older brother Clark was a junior in Danville against De La Salle, he threw for 321 yards and 3 touchdowns in that game. That's the type of game that Luke is going to have. I don't think, obviously San Ramon didn't come into that game like they're coming into this game. Cal Preps is picking, the computer has San Ramon winning this game 28-21. So it's going to be interesting. If San Ramon can get out in front early by a touchdown or 2 touchdowns and force De La Salle's hand, that De La Salle's going to have to find some offense, that will definitely favor San Ramon. Now, if De La Salle controls the clock and takes the lead, and it's, it ends up being played in a phone booth.
Yeah.
It could be rough sledding for San Ramon.
What seemed to me that San Ramon, wouldn't it be good for them to try to use a short passing game against De La Salle? Try to force the linebackers to cover their receivers.
They are very Luke Baker is very mobile. He can get outside of the pocket. De La Salle is going to put pressure on him.
Right.
There's no doubt about it. And De La Salle has good cover guys. Jaden Jefferson is a tremendous player. Jonathan Guerrero, tremendous player in the secondary. And they've got great pass rushers. Drew Cunningham. He was a beast against Folsom. And the Folsom has a very high-level sophomore quarterback, who's going to be a major Power 5 quarterback in a couple of years. I would think. That guy's tough and really good. But if Luke Baker gets on a roll and they can get a lead, I think that's got to be, what San Ramon is going to have to try to do, because they can't, this game ends up being De La Salle controlling time of possession. What is there, 48 minutes in the game? If De La Salle controls 30 to 34 minutes,
that's not going to be good for San Ramon Valley.
I don't know how San Ramon can win the game.
Well, I think a couple things to keep in mind. San Ramon did beat Clayton Valley last week, and they won 35-7. So it was not like it was a close.
But but every score is different. Every 35-7, every 42-10 type of game is different. That was a 35-7 game that San Ramon had a couple of long drives that if I'm a San Ramon fan, I'm a little concerned going into this game, because I don't think De La Salle is going to make the same mistakes that Clayton did. Now, does that mean that De La Salle is not going to fumble? Maybe. That's possible, but I don't think they're going to hike the ball over the quarterback's head for a 16-yard loss. That type of thing. So those long drives, and then they wear down the defense too, right? Those long drives.
Right.
So not only are you controlling time of possession, you're keeping the defense on the field, and you're frustrating the offense so it can't get back on the field.
I guess one thing is both these teams have played McClymonds, right?
Yep.
And both those games had a pretty similar script, correct?
Yeah, there's 21-0 De La over McClymonds, and it was 30? Was it 35-7?
Mm-hmm.
And the only touchdown by McClymonds was a kickoff return to start the second half that made it 14-7, and then San Ramon responded right away.
Right.
San Ramon, was very good in that game. De La Salle won 21-0, but I watched that game on the stream. What did they have? Four miscues in the red zone?
Yes.
That's what San Ramon's got to hope for.
Exactly. And I also
they fumble or miss a field goal or whatever,
McClymonds, they have a small roster, as we've noted several times in this show, but they're a very physical team. They're a very physically big team. And I think San Ramon passing that test does kind of bode well for them competing with De La Salle physically.
Right. Mike Lefkow, go ahead.
Let's just kind of, I mean, I agree. Paul Mendoza's injury is a huge blow for San Ramon Valley. But one thing to keep in mind is San Ramon Valley is a very good team, and Paul Mendoza is still not the quarterback. I mean, the most important player for a football team is your quarterback. I mean, there are exceptions, but if you have your quarterback, that's the most important player for a team. Baker is a terrific quarterback. But yeah, I think the Paul Mendoza injury is a big blow for San Ramon Valley. If I'm De La Salle, I'm gonna bring the pass rush, and I'm gonna bring it as hard as I can. And I'm going to do some blitzing with maybe one of the secondary backs. And I'm going to try to do one-on-one coverage with my secondary backs and force San Ramon to try to win the game with short passing and working the De La Salle linebackers.
Do you guys think Marco Jones can be on the field? I mean, he was on the field on offense, but not a lot. And he had a couple of catches for touchdowns. I mean, is he going to have to play more of an offensive role? Because he is a big target and a guy who's bigger than De La Salle's defensive backs. Do you guys think he'll have to play a much larger role offensively?
I think he's going to have to play more of a role offensively than he might have if he had Paul Mendoza.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, he's an exceptional player. He might be. I mean, how many? If you look at all the players in the Bay Area this year, at least in our coverage area, he might be the best player out there.
Right.
You know, I know that Reardon has the lineman. He's got 31 offers, but like I said, Jones is a terrific player.
No, he's very good. Here's a quote from Justin Allenbaugh that will be in our preview, referring to Luke Baker. Whenever you have a quarterback that's as good as him, man, you've got a great shot in any game. I don't care what level of football you're playing. That's true. Yep. No doubt about it.
And San Ramon can play physical football. I mean, their history is that they were always probably the most physical team in that area. You can go back you can look at their coaching history. They have always taught a fairly physical brand of football at San Ramon Valley.
I just think it's great that we have another team that, you know, has a shot. I mean, you know, I think it's more than a puncher's chance, you know, against De La Salle, which is great. And this could be the first of two meetings. I mean, Mike Lefkow, you like to look into the playoffs. I mean, can you see the loser of this game dropping behind Pittsburgh in the NCS playoffs to the 3 seed, or do you think a 10-0 Pittsburgh team will be the 2 seed behind the winner of this game?
No, I think a 10-0 Pittsburgh team could very well be the number 1 seed. I mean,
the 1 seed. Not if San Ramon wins this game and goes.
Not if San Ramon. Okay,
and I got to think if De La Salle wins and goes 8-2 with losses to Sarah and Orange Lutheran, I think De La would be 1. Now the question is, who would be 2? San Ramon, if they'd have a close loss to De La Salle and win out to go to 9-1, are they going to have a better resume than Pittsburgh? I think I would say yes, given who they play.
Probably give them a slightly better resume than Pittsburgh. Yeah.
The big one is going to be how they do against California. They could lose this game. Let's say they lose this game, you know, even by 2 touchdowns. Let's say they lose it 28-14, or you know, something like that. If they go out and beat California, and I know the NCS says it doesn't look at scores, but if they go out and beat California by, you know, 2 or 3 touchdowns, that's going to stand out when the NCS is looking at the resumes, right?
Right.
Because you're going to see you could potentially see a 9-1 SRV team that lost the DLSL, and a 10-0 Pittsburgh team who's Pittsburgh's best wins.
Well, I think Granite Bay was a good win.
Los Gatos is a good win.
Yes.
California's a good win.
California's a great win. Yeah. Monterey Trail. Did they play Monterey? It was Monterey.
Yeah, that was a 10-7
That was a 10-7 game.
field goal in the fourth quarter.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good one. And Liberty, if they beat Liberty, that would be a good one too. Liberty does have a decent team.
Right. Went a little bit longer than I thought we were going to go on this topic. So let's move on real quickly to some news from last week where the CIF announced that the state championship games will all be played in Southern California. I think it's a good thing. Not that they're all in Southern California. I think it's a good thing that the lower divisions get to play in a neutral site rather than one team having to go and play on the road. Although the atmosphere in some of these games on the road have been great, but they've been great for the home team and not both sides. And I know the CIF looked at it that there were a couple of times where these venues were too small and they had to turn some people away. And also I know there were some games in the Central Valley, at least one last year, where it was an absolute mud bowl because it rained so much and the field was a natural grass field and the game was played in mud. So the CIF member schools voted in the spring to play these games at 3 neutral sites. And last week, the CIF picked the 3 sites. They will all be in Southern California, Pasadena City College, Robinson Stadium, named after Jackie Robinson and his brother Mac. And there'll also be El Camino College and Saddleback College in Mission Viejo, where the upper division games have been played the last couple of seasons. Mike Lefkow, when you heard that news, what was your reaction?
Well, I think that I can't believe they couldn't have found one JC up in Northern California to stage 5 of the games. I mean, come on. I understand that all the basketball is played in Sacramento. Well, then maybe what they need to do is find a venue in Southern California for some of the basketball. But I think it should be split. I don't think it should be all the games in Southern California or all the basketball games in Northern California. Let's split them. Mm-hmm. There's plenty of venues throughout California where you can do that. And I don't know. I looked at that and I said it's kind of unfair.
I agree. Yeah, when I heard the news, I was like, Southern California is getting every single one. Like, and even then, I'm thinking you couldn't have found somewhere a little bit closer to the middle of the state to have some of these games.
Well, I think they want to be in a metro area, so it's either going to be the Southern Los Angeles area or Bay Area, or I guess Sacramento.
If you had this, it's not that
Fresno.
No, and Bakersfield's JC is maybe the largest JC stadium in the state. I think Sacramento might have one, but I know the Bakersfield College seats 21,000 their stadium, double deck stadium on both sides. That's where Wilcox played a couple weeks ago. But what about in the Bay Area? Do we have any stadiums here, JC stadiums, that have 8,000 seats?
That's a good question. I don't know.
We don't have any that look quite like Mission Viejo or El Camino College, right?
No.
I mean, those stadiums both are very nice and both hold about 9,000. We'll see how it goes. I mean, the CIF said this is basically a test drive. I mean, they're in 1-year agreements with these facilities. We'll see how it goes and maybe make some tweaks next year moving forward. So,
well, in Northern California, though, could you not try to use Spartan Stadium if it's available?
I mean, that's the one. I mean, and they have synthetic. What's the other one?
University of Santa Clara. Do they have a stadium that you can?
University facility. I don't know. They don't play baseball there anymore. It used to be Buckshaw Stadium. I think it has a new name now. Do you know the name, Lefty?
No, I don't. I mean, Cal State Hayward used to have a decent facility, but I don't know if that's there anymore either. Cal State East Bay now.
So anyhow, all the games will be down in Southern California. So Joseph, you and I will have to both go down again and figure it all out once we find out who qualifies and where these games will be played. You guys ready to get the picks, or do we have anything else in open forum that you guys want to discuss?
So let's get to picks.
You guys ready?
Let's go.
16 games starting Thursday night. Steve Pappin's Santa Teresa Saints 3-3. Winners of 3 in a row will head down to Gilroy to play Christopher. Christopher 6-0. Christopher doesn't have a great CalPreps rating. I think it's in the 300s. Santa Teresa, huge game, but I'm taking Christopher to go to 7-0. I think they'll win at home. If this game were in San Jose, I might go the other way, but that's who I've got. Mike Lefkow, who you got?
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to pick Christopher.
Joseph?
I'll go with Santa Teresa.
Are you changing, or is that who you wrote down?
That's who I wrote down.
That's who you wrote down, and the computer says Christopher will win 26-10. This next game was really tough to pick. Fremont Sunnyvale, 5-1, traveling up the peninsula to play Woodside at 4-2. This was really tough because I wanted to pick Fremont, but Woodside being at home, I'm going to take Woodside to win. The computer has Fremont winning 22-21. Joseph, who you got?
I've got Woodside. Well, for pretty much the same reason. They're playing at home.
Mike Lefkow?
I decided to go with Fremont. I think this might be a year which they pull it off.
This is a good Fremont team. 5-1. They've won in multiple. They won dramatically last week over Los Altos, right? When they're I think it was their running back fumbled at the goal line, and their lineman alertly fell on the ball in the end zone for the winning score in the last minute. That's pretty special. All right, so Joseph and I are going Woodside. Mike Lefkow, Fremont. The computer, Fremont by a point. Let's move on to Friday games. Bay Valley Athletic League, where Liberty will be playing Antioch. Antioch's 5-1, just entered our rankings. Liberty is in our rankings. I got Liberty winning at home. Mike Lefkow, who you got?
I'm going to go with Antioch. I really looked it over, and I just have a feeling Antioch's going to pull this one off.
All right, Joseph.
I'm going to agree with Darren on this one. I mean, Liberty's playing at home, and Liberty's a good team. And Cal Preps, I think, has them favored. So
by a lot, 38-14. So
but just remember, Antioch and Liberty are only about 10 minutes apart, 15 minutes apart. So
that's true. Next game on the list where Joseph Dycus will be to see Herschel Turner Jr. for Mount Diablo. He's rushed for, I believe, 28 touchdowns this season. The Red Devils are 5-1. They're going to be traveling to Martinez to play 5-1 Alhambra. Alhambra hung 71 last week on Berean Christian. I got the home team winning. I don't know how many Turner's going to go for, but I got Alhambra winning to go to 6-1. Mike Lefkow, who you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Alhambra winning a close game. I know Coach Hearn really likes his team. He said it's his best team since 2017. So we'll see.
Joseph.
I'll go with Mount Diablo in a close game.
And the computer has Alhambra winning in a not so close game, 44-26. And it should be noted that Alhambra in the Max Preps era is 7-0 against Mount Diablo. But there's always that one, right? Kennedy Richmond 5-2 at St. Patrick St. Vincent 5-1. This game is also Friday night. I got St. Patrick St. Vincent winning. Joseph, who you got?
I have SBSV too.
All right. Mike Lefkow?
Yep, I'll go with St. Patrick St. Vincent.
All right. And same with the computer. Cal Preps has it 42-20. Bishop O'Dowd 3-3 against Moreau Catholic 3-3. This game is going to be played in Hayward at Moreau. Moreau is 0-4 against O'Dowd in the Max Preps era. I think it will not go to 0-5. I'm taking Moreau to beat the Dragons. Mike Lefkow, who you got?
Yeah, I think Moreau Catholic pulls this one off.
Joseph?
Same, I think so as well. I will say Bishop O'Dowd's probably a little better than their 3-3 record. They played Marin Catholic and McClymonds in non-league.
So I got to ask, you picked Moreau so they don't take a picture of the scoreboard and tag you on it?
Yeah, that might be a small reason as to why. We do appreciate them watching and reading our coverage, though.
You changed your mind because computer has Moreau winning 28-21. Joseph picked the games that we're choosing this week, and he's got Berkeley against Washington Fremont. The game will be played at TAC Fidelis Stadium in Fremont. Both teams are 3-3. I got Berkeley winning. Mike Lefkow, who you got?
Yeah, I think Berkeley's going to win this game.
Joseph?
I've got Berkeley too.
And the computer has Berkeley winning by 20, 46-26. Westmont, a team that might have looked at our picks last week because we all picked Sabedra. Traveling to Overfeld. Overfeld 3-3. Westmont 4-2. This was a tough one for me to pick, but I'm going to go with the road team in this game. I'm taking Westmont to knock off Overfeld. Joseph Dycus, who you got?
I'm going to take the home team, Overfeld. But I'm not super confident about it. But they're playing at home, so that
Mark Kinopoulos got Westmont playing pretty well.
They do.
Mike Lefkow.
No, I'm going to stick with the home team and go with Overfeld.
All right. This next one was also tough to pick. Willow Glen 4-1 against Leigh 4-2. The game's going to be played at Leigh. We all know what happened to Willow Glen earlier this season, where their coach has been suspended. Is that how we would call it? We don't know if he's back next season. He's just out for the rest of this season.
I would call it suspension. Yeah.
Yeah, because of the CIF bylaw. So anyhow, they're being led by a couple of assistants, right? Is that the last we've heard?
Mm-hmm.
And you've touched base with them, right?
Yes.
And they won, right? Dramatically, the coach. So they're 4-1. They're going to be going up against Leigh 4-2. I like this Leigh team. I'm going to take the Longhorns to win at home. Joseph, who you got?
I'm taking Leigh too.
And Mike Lefkow.
Yep, make it Leigh 3.
And the computer says Leigh will win 21-19. So we'll see. It could be Willow Glen. Who knows? San Mateo at Cappuccino 6-0. They had a dramatic win, right? Mike Lefkow, you touched base with the coach. Found out.
Yeah, they were down like 27-7
against Milpitas last week on the road.
Milpitas came back and took a 36. Maybe it was 24-7. Came back and took a 36-24 lead, and then Milpitas scored at the end of the game. But yeah, it was quite a comeback by Cappuccino. So they had 3 turnovers in the first quarter, Cappuccino, and that's what allowed Milpitas to get so far ahead.
Well, they're at home, trying to go to 7-0. They're playing against a team that they're 7-7 against in the Max Preps era. San Mateo won last year 42-30. 42-30. I got Cap winning to go to 7-0. Joseph, who you got?
Cappuccino too.
Lefty?
Yep, I think Cappuccino wins.
And the computer has Cappuccino winning 28-8. It's just 6 more games on our list. Sacred Heart Prep at MA. At the beginning of the season, I would have said this is going to be a major marquee game of the night, but both teams are average. I don't know. How would you describe 3-3 and 2-4?
Average, mediocre.
Yeah.
All right, just okay.
Lefty. But there's still a lot of football to be played. They could turn this around, right?
I think they're average teams right now, but they're not
bad
terrible.
teams.
No, they're not bad
teams.
And they both played respectable
schedules, and both could get hot down the stretch. So I got Sacred Heart Prep winning on the road against its Atherton neighbor, Menlo Atherton. Mike Lefkow, who you got?
I'm going to go with Menlo Atherton. I still think they're not a bad team, and playing at home will favor them.
Joseph?
I'm going to agree with you, Darren. I think Sacred Heart Prep wins in a low-scoring game.
Low-scoring game, and the computer has Sacred Heart Prep winning 21-17. This next one was another tough one to pick.
Yeah.
An EBAL Mountain Division game where California at 4-2 had last week off, traveling to Monte Vista 4-2. In the Max Preps era, these teams are 10-10 against one another, which did not make it any easier to pick this game. I went back and forth. I ended up going with the road team, California, to pull it out. Mike Lefkow, who you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go with California. I think they have a real good team this year.
Joseph?
I went back and forth. I've seen both these teams in person, and I think California is just a little bit better.
They will win on the road. That's what you're saying. Two big games in Danville, because we got another one coming up here on the picks in a minute. And the computer has California winning 38-26. SI at Valley Christian. Valley Christian is 5-1. Their best win is Wilcox, I would think, right? Valley's best win?
I would say so.
Yeah. And their loss was to Reardon. SI 3-3 coming off a 21-6 loss in the South Bay last week to St. Francis. They're going to travel even further south this week to play Valley Christian. Another tough one for me to pick. I ended up going with the home team, but I could see it going either way. But I took Valley. Mike Lefkow, who you got?
Yeah, I took Valley Christian. I think being at home, I'll favor Valley Christian.
Joseph?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the road team. This seems St. Ignatius. They've played a tough schedule, and I can see them pulling it out.
The computer has SI winning 17-14.
That sounds about right, actually.
Yeah, it's going to be something like that, 14-10 or something like that. Two unbeaten teams going at it in a 3:00 afternoon game on Friday, where Menlo School at 6-0 will be at home to play Hillsdale 6-0. I really went through this, looking to find an edge here. Wasn't easy. Menlo 7-3 against Hillsdale in the Max Preps era, but I'm going to go with the road team. I think Hillsdale's having a very special season. I'm taking Hillsdale. Mike Lefkow, who you got?
I'm going to go with Menlo. I think they're playing real well. I think they're a well-coached team. They've got some good people, and I think they're going to pull this one out.
Joseph?
I mean, I got to agree with Mike here. Menlo School, they seem to be rolling. And I will say, duel between two good quarterbacks. Is Eric Waff? I don't know how to pronounce it. Hillsdale.
So.
Yeah, I think
against
isn't it?
Mikey McGrath, right?
Mikey McGrath, two very good quarterbacks. Could be a high-scoring game. I didn't check Cal Preps, though, to see what they
Cal Preps don't think it's going to be that high-scoring, 24-17. I'm a little concerned about Menlo being held to 0 for 43 minutes last week against Palo Alto. They scored 2 touchdowns in the last 5 minutes.
You have a point there.
So we'll see. This is the big one. Do you guys want to pick Mitty Reardon before we pick the last one?
Let's pick Mitty Reardon first.
Okay. I got Reardon winning at home on Saturday afternoon to go to 6-1. Mike Lefkow, who you got?
Oh, yeah, I think Reardon's going to roll.
Joseph?
I'm going to pick Reardon, but I think Mitty will find a way to keep it closer than whatever you guys.
Cal Preps actually thinks it's going to be 42-27.
Well, I could see that score.
Yeah, I could see
Reardon's giving up a few points.
Is that about what you see?
Yeah, I could see it. I can see a one score game.
I mean, it could be 42-7 by the time Mitty scores its last 3 touchdowns.
That's
Because there
also
have
true.
been a couple games this year where Reardon's been way ahead and they pull their starters and the other team scores a few points.
All right. Will we see more history in this last game on Friday night? I was there when their 30-year unbeaten streak ended. De La Salle's 30-year unbeaten streak against regional teams. Regional opponents when St. Francis beat them. They've since lost to a number of regional teams since then. I believe Folsom was the first Sac Joaquin section team in a gazillion years to beat De La Salle. Will San Ramon become the first North Coast section team in 32 years to beat the Spartans? San Ramon is 0-18 during this 32-year run by De La Salle. 0-18 against the Spartans with an average margin of victory by De La Salle at 36 points. Luke's brother, as we mentioned, Clark, almost beat the Spartans 28-27. I was hoping Luke would have some great stories about being in the stands that night. And he told me he wasn't there because he thought San Ramon was going to lose by a lot. Oh, now he wishes he had been there. Will I see history? I'm going to say not Friday. I'm taking De La Salle to win a very competitive, hard-hitting game. But I think the Spartans, having last week off, will control the ball. I think they'll mix in more passing than we think, but not a lot. I think they're going to run probably 90% of the time. That's who I got. Joseph, who do you got?
I think last year I picked Clayton Valley with the Clayton Valley Charter to win.
Yes, and they actually put that up on the they
Yeah.
had it printed out and they put it up in the locker room.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to predict a San Ramon Valley route, but you know what? I predict history will be made. San Ramon Valley is going to win.
Joseph
Luke Baker, if there's any quarterback in the Bay Area outside of maybe Maui Smith at Sarah, that I'm like, yeah, that guy can stare down the De La Salle defense and make plays, it's Luke Baker.
Oh, I have no doubt about that. This kid is tough. He's great, but I think it goes back to, will he have the ball in his hands enough? If De La Salle controls the time of possession in the 30s, I don't think he'll have it enough, but we'll see. Mike Lefkow, who do you got?
I was at the game the last time De La Salle lost to a North Coast section team. I saw that game against Pittsburgh. I believe Patrick Walsh was playing for De La Salle.
He was, and he was still hard, and still crushes him to this day. Although he points out that his senior class started the 151 game winning streak.
Yeah, I did, and Pittsburgh had some great players, including Reagan Upshaw, who ended up in the NFL. But I'm going to go in this game. Maybe in my mind, it's coming down to John Paul Mendoza not being there. But I'm going to go with De La Salle. I just see too many ways De La Salle can control this game and win.
The computer, and I went and I wish Cal Prep still had like the projections from games in previous years, because I wanted to see some of these other projections, because I don't remember an NCS team in at least the years that I've been following the stuff being picked to beat De La Salle. And the Cal Prep's computer has San Ramon winning 28-21.
Man, that computer really knows its stuff. You know me, I love the computer. I love that algorithm.
You love that computer.
I think there's a couple things. I mean, the computer, I think, is overlooking a little bit how much De La Salle has improved since the first game of the season. And like this,
I mean, they got
the thing I brought up yesterday. If you look at De La Salle scores, every game from week 1 to last week, they've given up fewer points than the previous week.
Yep.
Their defense has improved at least point-wise every week. I think De La Salle is a very good team.
It's a very good defense. A very good defense. And the teams they've beaten, I mean, look, St. Francis, St. Mary's of Stockton, Folsom, and McClymonds. It's 4 good teams.
Yeah.
4 very good.
The one thing I'll say though about San Ramon Valley is that no, they haven't played Folsom or St. Francis, but I'm also thinking of the teams.
St. Mary's of Stockton.
St. Mary's of Stockton, but of the teams that they have played, they have blown out everybody.
They've blown out everybody.
They have not left any doubt in any of those games.
Yes,
that they are the better team.
Yep.
Oh no, San Ramon Valley is got a great team this year. We were talking about the Division I playoffs earlier, and you know that it's going to be in some form or the other. De La Salle, Pittsburgh, and San Ramon are going to be the top 3 seeds, and they are, I think, way above everybody else in Division I this year.
Folks at California High may be listening to this thinking, we might have a say in it.
California High very well might have a say in it, but again, let's see how California does against San Ramon Valley before we
Or
say
Monte Vista on Friday night.
well, I would be very. I mean, if they can't beat Monte Vista Friday night,
They aren't beating
then
these
you
other
take them
teams.
out of the conversation. It's
Right.
simple as that.
Yep.
I mean, I think Cal is really good, but Monte Vista is not yet. And they might be in a couple of years, but they're not in that class yet.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Check out our coverage, mercurynews.com, eastbaytimes.com. Sign up for that digital subscription. That's what keeps us going. Get your Athlete of the Week nominations in high schools, all one word, at bayareanewsgroup.com. We take nominations up until 11 a.m. every Monday. And that is a wrap.